Hey friends, so I know that the question sometimes arises, couldn't it be the heat that's moving the object inside the glass? So I thought I'd do this experiment for you, and you're about to see the footage. And in this experiment, what I did is I set up two objects inside a container and to see if I could move them one at a time. Because if heat is what's really moving them, then that would mean that all the air inside the container, being so small, would be moving. There'd be a convection effect. So both objects would be moving probably close to the same speed around the same time. So you'll see in this experiment that first I start moving the upper object, and then I go to try to move the lower object, and then this interesting thing happens. I'm able to do it, but there's a conditioning effect that happens when you work with different objects. It's like moving a spider web from one object to the other. If you have any friends who do energy healing, ask them if energy could ever be sticky, and I think they'll agree that that's a possibility, because you'll see that I move from one object to the other, and while I'm focusing on the bottom object, the first one starts responding again, so I have to go back up, stop it from moving, and then go back down to the bottom one, and then you'll see that that really starts to move while the top one isn't moving anymore. So this should really show that it's not a convection effect. It's not heat moving the air inside the container. So it's important to do these kinds of experiments to clarify any doubt. But I have to say this is probably one of the hardest experiments I've ever done, because we find out that controlling where the energy goes is a lot more difficult than it seems, especially with two objects in the same container. Okay, so we have two camera angles on the same event. Let's look on the right side. Up top, you'll see that I'm focusing on the upper object and it's moving now. And then I want to start working on the lower object. The upper object is stopped, and I'm trying to get the lower one moving, and you're going to see the stickiness start to happen here. There it is. The one on top is responding instead of the one on the bottom. So this is what I was talking about earlier. And so I'm going to go back up top now and make it stop turning, which actually sometimes is easier than getting something going. And see, I've got it to stop there. Going back down below, and if you just hang in there with me for a few more moments, you'll see that the bottom object is going to start to move without moving the upper object, so indicating that there's not heat-generated air movement inside the container. But it takes a few moments. I've found that trying to work on two objects at the same time in an experiment like this is pretty difficult, changing my concentration from one to the other and keeping the energy separate from each one. So there it goes. The one on the bottom is starting to turn, and as we move along it'll turn a little bit faster, and notice that the one up top is not moving. So this really can't be about heat being transferred through the container. Also, my hands were not touching the container during this experiment. They were about a couple of inches away from the glass. There you go.